slowthai has released an album, TYRON, that exists. It's 14 songs long, 35 minutes long. This is an interesting one for the album or drop rule.
Yeah, it's like on the border of album or drop. I want to say it's an album because the amount of tracks that are on there, and when I listen to it fully, it feels like complete enough to be an album. But this is the shortest you could have an album.
Yeah, it's like, I would definitely consider this 35 minutes, which is almost in any other way a drop.
Yeah.
But 14 songs is a lot. You have 14 pretty coherent, decent songs.
You have a couple featured artists, and everything goes together relatively well, actually.
It's not necessarily a double album because it's way too short, but it has two different concepts, and it's very similar to Jasmine Sullivan's album. It's very highly conceptual, like Jasmine Sullivan's album, but that one didn't have two parts necessarily. This one definitely has like a trappier, go harder part, which is the first half where all the titles are in caps, and then where all the titles are in hipster Tumblr lowercase. It is then all kind of like the more moodier, slow tie, so to speak. But yeah, overall, I think I was surprised at how not bad it was.
I actually liked it, which I never thought in a million years I would like slowthai. You already know me. I've said it before. Well, you know me as the anti-trap guy, right? That's what I do in Audioface. But I've already said, like, on the Gorillaz track, I didn't mind him on there. And then for
Momentary Bliss.
For Momentary Bliss for Gorillaz. And then on Energy for Disclosure's track, I thought he was okay. I didn't really like his part on there. I like Amity's part a little bit more. So I was saying, I don't really fuck with his stuff. I've tried to before, but I haven't really liked it. But it's the first time I actually enjoyed most of this album. Especially, I like the top half more than I like the bottom half, which I am shocked. I've noticed one thing. I actually really like him with having features. I think it's really nice to complement. So the Cancelled and Mazza with Cancelled with Skepta and the Mazza with A$AP Rocky, I actually really like those tracks back to back. Cancelled Skepta is the most British fucking rap song you will ever hear in your goddamn life.
Absolutely.
Because it's like Pyramid Stage in Glastonbury. It's just like the most, it's so thick, their accents. And I normally don't like British hip hop or rap because sometimes, and that's one gripe with slowthai, him by himself, is sometimes his accent is so thick it can kind of contrive a little too much off of the track. But him with Skepta and A$AP Rocky was fantastic, actually. It was hyped, it was fun, the beat was actually very good. Production was very good too. What was I saying? You have that after that when you got to his own stuff, it was good too. But then when you started doing the slower stuff, that's when you could hear his accent a little bit more. I tried and focus, and
I'll say at least I appreciate, as a semi-Brit myself, I appreciate some chav representation here. Like the underclass a little bit, but I can definitely agree with. Even I was first listening to Cancelled, and I was like, as someone who's even sort of partial to Skepta more so than almost most people in America. Which is like, it's an interesting sort of like voice kind of thing that could be for certain people and then not for other people. But yeah, I was surprised with how well it generally worked out through the album. The collaborations really, there are a few, but like they're very smart where they were placed.
Yes.
Throughout the album, more broadly, kind of speaking from a higher view of things, I think when the slowthai does a really good way of doing songs through his own. There's like a run through that are like, I'd say kind of more all over the place. That's more like when he's exploring on his own. But it still kind of goes like on its own. I kind of liked Dead really nicely. It sticks out as I see King on its own. But standalone tracks, they work kind of nicely. Even though there's one that's like 49 or 48 seconds, it feels like it has its place even transitionary to the album. And whereas there are many other artists who even in this short time frame will do some really stupid stuff with their time and make it make no sense. At least these are kind of, again, the latter album is part of the album is more introspective, but these still feel like there's more substance there. But then to my point that I was making a little bit earlier about how the features in the album are put together really nicely through that middle part where you have a bunch of slowthai just like cocking around with himself. You get a really nice little bit with Terms with Dominic Fike and Denzel Curry, and then Push with Dead Never after that. And they're a really nice
very good
from sometimes slowthai's inner thoughts, which can be kind of chaotic, but also they inject enough to where it allows slowthai to rise to that level and create a really good song with him. It's not like rescue efforts. We have a lot of trap albums where it's like, this sucked, but one or two of the features made it bearable.
Yeah.
It's like, no, your features you're exploring in your own way, good for you, might not work for everyone, but the features also, I mean, like when you're on your own, might not work for everyone, but your features really help lift you up.
Yeah, and they do, and they complement it perfectly, because slowthai by himself is a lot to digest, and it can be too much for certain people. But then when he puts it in with a bunch of features, it helps to offset his insanity, which is good. But I'm honestly impressed with it. It was nice to really have that more introspective and slower part with him, because you haven't really heard that from him too often, like a little bits here and there in his discography. But usually it's like really in your face, it's experimental, it's crazy. That's what he's known for. He's known for his persona and the stuff he did with the Enemy Hordes. And it's a decent album. I was going in there waiting to just be like, all right, I want to rip slowthai apart. I was waiting for it for this year, and I go, oh shit, I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, because I think
I was really surprised.
I think this album was delayed. It was supposed to come out a little bit later last year, and then it was delayed even another week within this year. But it turned out being generally well. What was your favorite song of like the latter half of it?
I liked NHS a lot, actually.
Huh.
Sandwiched in between all of the featured, because it's it says like trap and be fuckboy song, but it's actually good because, again, it's that introspective, slower down song and stuff, and that's one of the ones I can kind of handle the accent within it, where it's like, okay, it fits. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I like that part.
I can hear you on that. I think this is a really solid album. I mean, we'll give the arbitrary scale in a moment. But I think it's worth a listen to definitely dig into slowthai. It's definitely one of slowthai's more approachable works, because slowthai can have a lot of stuff that has been polarizing even for us.
Yes.
But we tried to come into this with a pretty open mind. I didn't even like Nothing Great About Britain that much. Came out in 2019. It's like, okay, but I don't know. I have a kind of a little bit hot take that I don't know if it's fully baked, that slowthai might be the next Damon Albarn, because I think he's like weird and like hates England enough to maybe do it. Yeah. But I mean, his last album was called Nothing Great About Britain.
Yes, yes.
But this is a really solid, TYRON's a really solid album. I think it's really approachable for people who are new to slowthai, and represents a really decent growth of slowthai, which is what we like on Audioface. Speaking of what we like on Audioface, arbitrary scales. This one this week for these clips is Senate vote margins without budget reconciliation. So filibusters allowed, which means filibuster's the only way you can go.
Yeah, this is the only way, yeah.
And so you need, even though in a normal Silverlight system, 51 out of 100 means you win. This is America, so 60 out of 100 means you win.
Yes.
So, with that being said, I would give this album, I'll give it a safe 74.
Yeah, 74? Yeah, I was going to give it a 70 and an unruly mob outside the White House, waiting.
I mean, if it would be any of the three we've got here, it's probably Skeptic. I'm sorry, Skeptic slowthai.
So, yeah, exactly.
I have a hard time seeing an unruly mob for Pale Waves.